Hello everyone and welcome to our podcast. My name is Noluthando and I'm here with
Noluthando and
and today we'll discuss A More Pageant by Ken Temba. We'll analyze romantic love across ethnic lines and how apartheid laws increased ethnic tension in black communities during the 1950s. And yes, our discussion will go beyond tribal conflict. We'll explore how apartheid laws, forced removals, poverty and fear contributed to violence in the society.
Okay, before we discuss this story, can you explain what apartheid was?
Apartheid was a system of racial segregation introduced in South Africa in the 1940s. The government separated people across race and controlled where they could live, work, and survive.
How did apartheid affect black communities specifically?
Black people were forced into overcrowded townships with poor living conditions, and families were separated because many men had to work far away from cities, like in mines. The government also divided communities into ethnic groups such as Xhosa and Zulu communities.
So apartheid created separation not only between black and white people, but also among black people themselves.
Exactly. The government used division to weaken unity amongst black South Africans.
Okay, can you please briefly explain what happens in the More Pageant?
The story is about a Xhosa man who falls in love with a Sotho woman. Their relationship becomes controversial because their communities do not approve their love due to their ethnic groups.
So what makes their relationship so dangerous?
People in the community believe ethnic groups should stay separate. Rumors spread, tensions rise, and eventually violence breaks out.
Do you think the violence in the story was caused mainly by tribal hatred?
Partly, yes. Ethnic tensions between Zulu and Xhosa already existed. However, apartheid made those tensions worse.
Okay, so how exactly did apartheid increase violence?
Apartheid created poverty, overcrowding, frustration and fear and anger. People were desperate and emotionally stressed. Instead of fighting off apartheid system together, communities sometimes turned against each other.
So violence was not only tribal hatred?
No, it was also caused by the suffering and desperation created by apartheid.
Okay, let us talk about the theme of love. What is the relationship important in the story?
The relationship is important because it challenges social divisions. The Xhosa man falls in love with the Sotho woman naturally despite the ethnic differences.
Okay, so what does this tell us about love?
It shows that love can cross social and ethnic boundaries. Human emotions are stronger than political divisions.
Okay, fear is also a major theme in the story. What kind of fear do we see?
We see fear of outsiders, fear of losing cultural identity, and fear of fear created by apartheid oppression.
Okay, how does the fear affect the community?
Fear makes people irrational. Instead of understanding the couple, they react emotionally and violently.
Okay, why were ethnic tensions strong during that time?
Apartheid encouraged ethnic separation. Different ethnic groups were often housed separately in hotels and townships. Competition for jobs and resources also increased tension.
Okay, so in other words, apartheid used ethnic identity to divide people.
Exactly. Division helped the government maintain control.
Okay, why did the community disapprove of the relationship?
The community believed the relationship should stay within the same ethnic groups. They saw the couple as breaking social rules.
Do you think the community think about the couple's feelings?
Not really. The community cared more about tradition and ethnic loyalty than individual happiness.
Okay, how do rumors contribute to violence in the story?
I think rumors spread quickly and increased fear. People stopped thinking logically and began following the emotions of the crowd.
Why does the mob request?
The mob represents how dangerous society can become when fear and anger controls people.
At first, the relationship is private. How does it become public conflict?
Once the community discovers the relationship, everyone begins thinking about it. The couple's private love becomes a symbol of ethnic conflict.
Okay, what deeper social problems are revealed through this conflict?
The story reveals fear, oppression, ethnic division, and emotional damage caused by the apartheid.
Can you explain how the Group Areas Act connects to the story?
I think the Group Areas Act forced people to live in separate racial areas. Many black families lost their homes and were moved into overcrowded townships.
So how did forced removals affect communities?
They destroyed stability and created anger, frustration, and poverty. These harsh conditions increased conflict among people.
So what was the mid-rate labor system?
It was a system where black men had to leave their families and work far away from home, like in mines and cities.
So how did this affect society?
Families became separated, communities became unstable, and emotional suffering increased. This created more tension and violence.
So what role did the poverty play in the whole story?
Poverty increased frustration and competitions amongst people. Overcrowded hotels and township created stressful living conditions.
So did apartheid contribute to these conditions?
Definitely, apartheid intentionally kept black communities poor and divided.
Do you think the story is still relevant today?
Yes, very relevant. South Africa still struggles with inequalities, xenophobia, poverty, and violence.
Okay, can we say the country has completely escaped apartheid divisions?
Not entirely. Apartheid ended legally, but many social and economic inequalities still remain today.
Okay, moving conclusion. So what lesson can we learn from the mob patient?
I think the story teaches us that fear, oppression, and division can destroy human relationship and create violence.
Okay, and it also helps shows that love can challenge social divisions even in difficult times.
Exactly. The tragedy reflects the harm caused by apartheid and reminds us why unity and understanding and humanity are important.
Okay, one important issue in mob patient is race, gender, and marginality. How are these things shown in the story?
The story takes place during the apartheid time, where black people were already marginalized and oppressed by racist laws. Black communities were denied political power, economic opportunities, and freedom of movement. This created feelings of frustration, insecurity, and helplessness.
So the characters are already suffering under racial oppression before the conflict even begins.
Exactly. The couple's relationship develops inside the society already damaged by racism and segregation. Their love becomes difficult because apartheid created division and mistrust within black communities.
How is the gender explored in the story?
The female character experiences gender oppression because society judges her more harshly than the male character. She is criticized for crossing ethnic boundaries and for challenging traditional expectations about women's behavior, of which was the name of the character. Oh, yeah.
Okay, can we say she becomes marginalized both as a black person and as a woman?
Definitely. She experiences double marginalization, apartheid oppression, her racially, while patriarchal society controls her emotionally and socially.
Are the moments in the story that shows this marginalism clearly?
Yes, one key moment is when the community begins gossiping about their relationship. Instead of retreating the woman with empathy, people shame and judge her publicly. Her personality choices become controlled by the society.
So in other words, her identity and freedom are taken away from her.
Exactly. Society reduced her to an ethnic symbol instead of recognizing her as an individual human being with emotions and desires.
What does the more violence reveal about marginality?
The violence shows how vulnerable marginalized people become in oppressive societies. The couple has little protection against the anger and prejudice of the community.
Does Kentemba criticize the treatment?
Yes, he criticizes a society where vulnerable individuals are punished simply for loving across social boundaries.
Another important theme is power, identity, and control. How are these themes explored in the story?
So power operates on many levels in Mob Persian. The apartheid government controls black communities through racist laws, spatial segregation, and economic oppression. At the same time, communities try to control individuals through ethnic loyalty and social pressure.
So people experience control both politically and socially.
Yes, exactly. The couple cannot freely choose who to love because society politicize their behavior. Their relationship becomes controlled by community expectations and ethnic identity.
How does identity become important in the story?
Identity becomes political. Instead of being seen as an individual, people are defined by tribe and ethnicity. The Xhosa men and Soto women are judged according to their ethnic groups rather than their humanity.
Does apartheid strengthen these divisions?
Definitely. Apartheid encouraged tribal identities because the government believed divided communities will be easier to control.
Can you mention a key moment where identity becomes a source of conflict?
Yeah, a major moment occurs when the relationship becomes public knowledge. Suddenly, the couple is no longer seen as two people in love. They become symbols of ethnic conflict and social rebellion.
Okay, how does the mob exercise power?
The mob uses intimidation, fear, and violence to enforce social rules. People follow the crowd because they fear rejection or punishment from the community.
So social control becomes very powerful.
Exactly. The story shows how communication can silence individually and freedom through fear and collection pressure.
So does the story suggest that identity can be destructive?
Yes, definitely. Especially when identity is used to divide people instead of unite them. The story warns against reducing people to racial or ethnic categories.
Another major issue is space and the rights to the seat. What does this mean in other contents of the story?
It refers to who has the right to live freely, safely, and equally within urban spaces. During apartheid, black South Africans were denied equal access to cities and forced into segregated townships and hostels.
So how does spatial segregation affect the story?
I think spatial segregation creates overcrowding, poverty, frustration, and violence. The environment itself becomes oppressive. Black communities are trapped in spaces designed to control and divide them.
So how does this connect to ethnic retention?
Hostels and townships were often divided according to ethnicity. This increased competition, mistrust, and conflicts between groups such as Xhosas and Zulus.
Okay, can we say the city itself becomes a site of struggle?
Definitely. Urban spaces during apartheid reflected inequality and exclusion. Black people were denied full right to the city because they were treated as temporary laborers rather than cities.
In other words, are the moments in the story that reflects this social exclusion?
Yes, the constant tension, overcrowding, gossip, and violence in the community reflects the emotional pressure created by apartheid urban spaces. And the characters live in an environment filled with instability and fear.
So you mean the setting is not just background information?
Not at all. The setting is deeply connected to the themes of oppression and divisions. The township environment shapes the behavior of the characters and it contributes to the tragedy.
Okay, so what broader message that the story communicates about space and the freedom?
The story suggests that denying people's dignity, freedom, and equal access to social spaces creates conflict and suffering. Human being need communities built on equally and inclusive rather than segregation and fear.
What are some key moments in the story that support the themes?
One important moment is when the community discovers the relationship between Linga and Mapule. This transforms a private relationship into a public controversy.
Okay, why is the scene important?
Because it reveals how society controls personal relationships. The couple loses privacy and becomes victims of public judgment and tension.
Okay, I get you. So what are other important moments stands out?
The scenes involving rumors and gossip are very important. Rumors spread quickly through the community and increase fear and anger.
So what does this romance symbolism?
I think these rumors symbolize how fear and prejudice spread in oppressed societies. Gossip becomes a weapon that destroys trust and humanity.
Okay, so what can you say about the mob scene?
The mob scene is one of the most powerful moments in the story. It represents collective violence, loss of humanity, and the dangerous effects of social pressure.
Are there any important ideas or quotes connected to this?
Although the story focuses more on action and tension than famous quotations, one important idea throughout the text is that love across ethnic.
Okay, moving to literal devices. What are literal devices that are important in the story?
The writer uses symbolism, irony, suspense, conflict, emotional language, and imagery to communicate the tragedy of the story.
Oh, can you explain the symbolism?
It's the relationship symbolizes hope, unity, the resistance against division. The mob symbolizes fear, hatred, anger, and the destructive power of society when people lose control.
Okay, so what can you say is ironic about the story?
It is ironic that communities suffering under apartheid still attack one another instead of supporting each other. The people become victims of the same divisions created by the apartheid system.
So how does suspense affect the reader?
Suspense creates emotional tension and keeps readers anxious about what will happen to the couple. It increases the tragic atmosphere of the story.
So what role does the conflict play in the story?
Conflict drives the story forward. There is conflict between love and tradition, individual and society, and humanity and prejudice.
So why is emotional language important?
It helps the readers to sympathize for the couple, which is Linga and Mapule, and understand the emotional pain caused by violence and social rejection.
So literal devices strengthen the story's message.
Exactly. The devices help readers understand the emotional and social impacts of apartheid and ethnic division.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that is it.
Yes. Thank you for listening to our academic podcast on Mob Passion by Ken Temba.